Hey there, I'm Christy Wilhelmi from Gardenerd, and today I'm doing an explainer video on the best time to use seeds versus transplants from the nursery. So let's break it down. First of all, let me just say, transplants, nursery seedlings, or starts, those words I'm going to be using interchangeably, and you should too, because they mean the same thing. It means the thing that you buy pre-grown in a pot that you bring home and plant in your garden. Right? And seeds are, well, seeds. Whether you've saved them yourself, bought them in from a nursery, or ordered them online, or gotten them from a seed swap. Okay, now, there are three things that you need to consider when deciding between seeds and starts. The first is your skill level and your preference for or tolerance of the unknown. Seed starting isn't hard, but some seeds require a little more attention than just dropping them in the soil, watering them, and hoping for the best. Some, like peppers and tomatoes and eggplants and some other things, really need a little bit of extra time, a little extra light, more of a coddled environment. And so putting those in seed trays under grow lights is the best way to start them. So if you don't feel confident doing that, you may want to start with transplants. But if you're adventurous and want to give it a go by direct sowing pretty much anything directly in your soil, you can do that. I've grown almost everything by direct sowing at one time or another. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If you're a beginning gardener who's never grown anything from seed, there is absolutely no shame in going to the nursery and buying as much as you can in pots already. Absolutely no shame. If you want to grow a few things from seed, I'm going to address which ones are easiest from seed later in this video. All right, so that's number one. Number two is timing. Do you have time to start from seed? That is the ultimate question. Depending on where you live, what your hardiness zone is, how long your growing season is, you have to count backwards and sometimes do some math to figure out whether or not you have time for seeds. Seeds can take anywhere from 7 days up to a month just to germinate, and then they need to grow a couple of sets of leaves before they really start to take off. And if you're growing something, say pumpkins, that take 90 to 100 days to mature, you have to factor that in to your growing season. Is it going to last that long? If not, you would need to start seeds ahead of time indoors to be ahead of the game to plant them out. The advantage of buying transplants is that they have already gone through the process of germination, so that gives you a week to a month ahead of time. Plus, they've been growing for at least a couple of weeks before they show up in the nursery. So you're saving yourself maybe a month and a half to 2 months by buying nursery transplants. So that could be the advantage of that. The third factor in deciding whether to grow from seeds or transplants is variety. Think of it this way. There are hundreds of tomato varieties out there. Sure, nurseries are catching up and they're starting to offer more interesting varieties, but if you really want something interesting and different, you're probably going to have to grow it from seed. Starting from seed affords you the opportunity to grow things like white pumpkins and yellow beans and really, really hot chilies that might not even be available at your local nursery. But if you want to go with tried and true varieties that you know hold up and are very popular, you're likely going to find those already started at the nursery. Now that those three things are out of the way, let's talk specifics. I want to clarify something a little bit first. When I talk about growing things from seed, I am almost always talking about growing annual vegetables. Perennial vegetables and fruit trees, they prefer to be propagated from cuttings. That's a different video. I'm not going to talk about that right now. Today's conversation is only about annual vegetables. Okay, if you're just starting out and you don't have a whole lot of time, things that grow really easy from seed when you direct sow them, meaning you plant them right in the soil, are radishes, lettuces, peas, small carrots, arugula, and quick herbs like cilantro. I really like to plant all of my root vegetables from seed rather than buying 6-packs of them at the nursery. Here's the reason why. 6-packs of beets and carrots are often clumped all together, and if you don't absolutely separate them out into individual seedlings, and then when you plant them, make sure that the root is going straight down, you're going to end up with knobby root vegetables or twisted carrots, and it's not quite as fun as it would be. So start those from seed. Most green things can be grown directly from seed. Like I mentioned, your lettuces, your arugula, your mustard greens, all can be direct sown. However, when it comes to Brassicaceae plants like kale and collards, I like to start those ahead of time indoors because they can take a couple weeks to germinate, and they like a little bit more intense light to get started. But I've done it before. What happens sometimes with Brassicaceae is they'll sprout from the soil. They'll get a little bit leggy, meaning there's a lot of stem before the leaves start, and then they'll fall over and start to correct themselves. That's fine. I just bury that part of the stem that has fallen over, and they're growing in a little bit of a different location than before. But if you start them indoors, that doesn't happen because you have intense light over them if you have a grow light. Things in the Solanaceae family: peppers, tomatoes, eggplants, tomatillos. These are best started indoors under grow lights ahead of time. They want strong, intense light in order to make short, bushy plants. Again, I've grown these out in the wild, just sowing seeds in the ground, and the volunteer tomatoes seem to do better than anything. So I'm not saying this is a hard no, I'm just saying that they do better if you start them indoors under grow lights first. There are certain things that can take up to 28 days to germinate, and that's like parsley, right? It can take a long time, and I don't know about you, but by then I've kind of forgotten about them. So those are the kinds of things, if it says it on the seed packet, how long it takes to germinate, and that seems like longer than your attention span in the garden, you might want to start those in a controlled environment where you're checking them every couple of days for water. Let's talk about squashes and cucumbers, the Cucurbitaceae family. They all prefer to be direct sown because they don't like their roots to be disturbed. But I have found that if you start them indoors, if you feel like it, you can plant them in a biodegradable pot, and then when you put them in the ground, you're not disturbing the roots. That said, I like to direct sow all my cucumbers, melons, and squash, because they germinate pretty quickly, and if you cover them, you keep the birds from eating the seeds. Oh, birds, they're always eating the seeds. Most beans and peas are great to direct sow. I find a lot of times if you're buying them from the nursery in 6-packs, they're a bit overgrown and all the vines have gotten tangled together. So really, if you're gonna buy them from the nursery, choose the youngest seedlings you can, or just start them at home. Beans and peas usually require some kind of soaking overnight. I actually stopped soaking my beans overnight because I found that they rotted more often, but peas really benefit from soaking them overnight. The same with corn seeds. Oh, and corn. However you want to do it works. So corn, you can either buy transplants from the nursery or buy a packet of seeds and get a lot more bang for your buck. If you haven't already figured this out, seeds are so much more economical than transplants. For example, this bush bean seed packet is $2.99, and this seedling, I don't remember how much this cost, but this was probably around $5 or $6 for one plant. But in here, I have about, 50 to 100 seeds, something like that. You get the idea. A lot of seeds versus one plant. So you get to decide which to grow. In the end, whether you're determined to grow from seed or from seedlings is completely up to your comfort level, your comfort with the unknown, your budget, and how much time you have. And of course, whether you want to grow strictly typical varieties or branch out into something unique. I hope you like this video. If you do, share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to find out when our next video comes online. And consider becoming a Patreon subscriber to support all the free stuff that we do here at Gardenerd. Patreon subscribers get behind the scenes goodies and monthly hangouts to ask your burning gardening questions with me. Happy gardening!